Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to today's episode of the Boss Talk series about a water rescue event that occurred on Columbia Pike at the Company 1612 border. I know the slide has said New Hampshire Avenue. That's going to be an episode next month. So today we're talking about a water rescue, actually a really interesting one that occurred back along the Northwest Branch Trail that 16 and 12 were involved with. Anyway, as usual, if you're a certified chief officer wishing to receive COPDI credit, make sure that you sign in now with your name and fire service ID, and then do the same at the end, and then Chief Gibson will work to get you credit on the COPDI front. If you're watching from a firehouse with a group of folks, please identify what firehouse and how many people are watching with you. We're live here from Company 16. Happy to be here. It's been a little bit since we've been back down this way out of the command lab. So I want to, as usual, right, we try to bring up some current events. A couple things water supply related, I think, worthy of talking about. So I'm going to say a week or so ago, maybe fire in Rockville Pike corridor in the city of Rockville. One of the companies came across a fire hydrant that had the missing bonnet top, meaning the nut assembly up on top. So you take a look at this. This is one of Rockville City's older hydrants, and basically what happened is the operating nut where you would put your hydrant wrench was simply gone. This style of hydrant, that nut is attached with what looks to be like a hex bolt that goes down through their hex screw. Let's go to the next one. And the way you have to overcome that, right, is with a pipe wrench. So folks have been doing this for a hot minute, right? One of the reasons we carried a pipe wrench, or you used to carry a pipe wrench in your layout bag, somewhere readily available, because it was not uncommon back in the day, whatever back in the day may mean to you, to encounter this particular fitting missing. You can see that hole there, and that's where that screw goes down in that holds the hydrant nut, the bonnet cap on there. Not uncommon for this style of hydrant to have that happen. So it is important to take a look at this. We don't see it much. I remember back from my days of driving a wagon or being a company officer, we sometimes carried a spare hydrant nut assembly, in fact, to drop down on top of that. But second part of that, so anyway, appreciate that. There was the fellows from Company 26 and Battalion 2 who sent that into us. I think it was a fire in 23's area or something like that. But good notice of, hey, being ready to encounter that. Something else that's coming up on the horizon is the city of Rockville is looking to put locks on their hydrants. Water theft is a big problem both in WSSC and in the city of Rockville. And there are other jurisdictions around the United States that have locks on their hydrants to prevent unmetered water use. So we will begin testing out some of these locks. I got one here. I just want to show it to you. We're going to run a bunch of people through the operation, just not today. This is what it looks like. It is going to sit on top. Of the hydrant, and then this sleeve fits on top of the operating nut, and then you have this barrel lock that goes through. And the plan would be for each engine to have a key to that, and then, of course, there would be spare engines and whatever. It's a very simple key, not a big deal. It's not a Knox box key. Going to run some companies through evolutions like, hey, how does this work? Is it going to be okay? Some jurisdictions in Maryland are using them. They're not reporting any problems. Has not been any delays, not been any issues with them. So trying to work with the city of Rockville to help with their theft or unauthorized use of water, unmetered use of water from their system. It is a big to-do. We just don't realize it at the fire department. So that's it for me. If you have any questions, type them in on the chat. I want to turn it over to Captain Brady Miller, and he's going to lead us through a discussion of what happened on Columbia Pike with a really interesting water rescue that truly saved a young child's life back in there. So, Captain Miller, it's yours.
Chief, thank you very much. First, I guess first let me go through and introduce who we have here today with us. At the end of the table, we have Captain Wilson, 12 on the C shift. Next to him, Lieutenant Paradise, Battalion 1 C shift float. And next to him, Lieutenant Doyle, assigned here to Company 16 on the C shift. Like we have done in the past, really, guys, we're just going to listen to the audio, the dispatch audio, the first couple of minutes of the call, and we're going to stop it and kind of discuss from there. Go ahead, guys.
Units operate 7 Alpha 4. Northwest Branch Trail, 10,750, Columbia Pike. In that area, the waterfall behind the Trader Joe's. Inland Water Rescue. Swiftwater 730, Bravo, Swiftwater 730. Howard County Boat 11 Alpha, Howard County Boat 11. Medic 712, Paramedic Engine 716. Battalion 701. Operate 7 Alpha 4, box area 1211, 1156.
Ambulance, intra-facility transfer, BLS, 5721 Grosvenor Lane, box 2601.
All right, just pause there for a second. So we have an inland water rescue, right? Correct? I hear that right?
Yep.
Whose area? 12's area?
12's area.
All right. Dispatched were engine truck from here.
Yep.
And
My
what
medic
from-
unit.
and your
Medic 712.
Medic 712.
Medic 712. All right, and then the water component of it.
Right.
Lieutenant Doyle, we're going to start with you, really. Get on the fire truck. What are you thinking going down the road? So first of all, paint the picture for us where we're going, what you think where we're going. I guess we can put the map up, guys.
Yeah, so we were on the air.
Uh-huh.
We were actually going to get lunch, and I saw it pop up on the MDC in the queue. So I clicked on that, and I was reading some of the descriptions, and I'm like, yeah, this is probably going to be us. And then while we're on the air, it's literally the 12 and 16 border. So told my driver, we were a little ways down by East Franklin. I said, hey, swing a Yui, we're probably going to be on this one. I was telling the guy, everybody in the back, the details of what was going on. Child stuck in the water.
So you're reading the MDC sheet, says
Yep.
child stuck in water.
Yep.
You start that way.
Yep. Get put on it.
Okay.
Initially asked for our truck company. They didn't put our truck on initially. But Lieutenant Paradise had already called ECC in the station and said, hey, place us on that call.
So the truck wasn't originally placed on the call. You
No.
added yourself to it.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So we're headed that way. What are you thinking this is?
So down Columbia Pike, you've got, you have the Northwest Branch waterways. You got a Lowhead Dam on the left-hand side, and you got pretty much calm water and almost like a walking path on the right side with a substation. And there's 2 gas stations. And I think somebody had mentioned it by the gas station. So I asked ECC.
So the MDC comments. By the
Yeah, I said, hey, which gas station are we talking about? The one
we
on
can
the left
put those
side or
MDC
right side?
comments up too, guys.
I'm thinking it's probably going to be some of these kids were probably messing around at the dam and somehow got stuck. But again, you just
And
never
I've
know.
been on a call there before. I would kind of
Yeah, and that's
assume
my
the same
first
thing.
Yeah, my first thought was it's got to be the dam.
Okay.
They're probably messing around there because once it crosses under 29, it's pretty calm over on the right side, and I thought it's probably not going to be there. So again, my first thought was it's got to be the dam.
Lowhead Dam, kids
Lowhead
playing in
Dam,
the water.
yep.
Some
Yep.
kid can't get out of the water.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Lieutenant Paradise, from you, you added yourself to the run. Were you in front of the engine?
Yeah, well, actually, when we pulled out of the station, it was just the truck here. Everybody else was gone at the time. We saw it pop up, kind of pending. One of the tillermen went up and he was looking at the CAD computer, and we're like, that's right around the corner. We're thinking, so we're assuming we're going to get put on it, and so we go to start getting in the truck right about the time they dispatched it, and we weren't on it. I was like, well, we were all kind of like, we should probably start heading that way. So we, as soon as we head out the door, I called ECC, add us on the call, and we pulled out on the university, and engine 16 was coming up. They're a quarter mile down the street, but they're coming up right behind us at that point. So.
And are you looking at the MDC?
Yeah. So once we got going, and I'm trying to read the comments, and I could see, it says there's a child stuck in the water down here, and
they're still under the water, head above water. Another child holding them up, stuck.
Yeah.
So what are you saying to the guys and I guess the tillerman and the driver?
I'm just kind of reading some of the highlight stuff out loud as best I can, and there's some chatter, like he said with EC. He was talking to ECC, I think, about which gas station is it behind, because there's two, or there's one on each side of Columbia Pike down there, and so I'm trying to relay a little bit of that. I asked the drivers, like, we do have all our water rescue gear, right? Because I know they had just switched into that truck. That was a reserve truck. And they're like, yeah, we're good on all that. So, and I'm thinking, like, based on the comments, I'm feeling like this is a legit,
You're taking
issue.
your wallet out of your pocket so it doesn't get wet.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. What kind of day was it?
Just like today.
Yeah.
Sunny day, just
Sunny
like
day.
today.
Yeah, just like
So
today.
no imminent threat of rain. No.
Nope.
It hadn't
Hey, it's
rained.
been
It hadn't
storming.
rained.
We know Sligo Creek Parkway is flooded every time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was, and it hadn't rained for a few days, so it was just a beautiful sunny day.
Captain Wilson, how about you? Start just in the beginning.
So the section that this call happened in, since AVL took over the automatic AVL, is 16's area, even though it's marked ours.
Hey, I knew it was yours all the way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So as soon as the call went out, we don't run these things. My medic unit was due. We checked the CAD, looked at the comments, got a portable, started listening. Again, I've been down here 5 years. I'm thinking the Lowhead Dam, just like Lieutenant Doyle did. Again, every time we drive down this way, you look off to that direction where it ended up happening. It's calm. Who could be stuck down there, or it's a small child that got out in the water and he's stuck on a rock. This is going to be nothing really. And then if it is down on that slower side, and it escalated pretty quickly when those guys got on the scene.
How did we realize it was on the other side, or the opposite side of the Lowhead Dam?
We got a waiver.
A good old-fashioned
Good
waiver.
old-fashioned waiver, right there at the parking lot, and we're 29 in the parking lot, and I guess it's called substation almost is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had the old waiver.
Okay.
Which was good because, he was actually able to direct us to exactly where.
So this waiver
It
ended
was.
up being what?
So he was it was a summer camp that was going on, and he was one of the counselors responsible for the children.
How many kids? Do we know how many kids or anything? I mean, I don't know how relevant that is.
12 to 15, I think.
Yeah, it was a
So they're
large-
out
it was
for
a
a
fairly
they're
large
out for a walk.
It was a fairly large group.
A large group of summer camp kids out for a walk, and one of them gets in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. How age-ish?
Ours was, he was 10.
Okay.
So I would say anywhere.
So young.
I think
Young
it was,
kids.
It was a mixed bag. I think there were some older kids. A couple of the counselors, I think, were like 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So there's a parking lot there, right?
Yes.
I mean, you guys, everybody, I guess, pulled into that parking lot.
Yep.
Was there any? Were we able to pretty much clear up where we were going right away?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. He made it fairly obvious. Said, "Hey, it's over here. Follow me."
Captain Wilson, how did you end up on the call?
So when they got down there, Chief Lancaster, who was working Battalion 1, questioned was there any use for a UTV down there. So they went ahead and dispatched UTV 712, and I added myself to the call because I take 2 off the engine to take the UTV.
Okay.
So
the UTV goes, the engine goes also.
Yep. I always figure these things are going to need more manpower than we usually assume, so I always go along with the UTV.
Okay.
And as the UTV got down there, the announcement was made we can't use them, and they put them in service. We were almost on the scene. I had an extra medic with me, and we were still confused as to how many patients there were, and I figured if they needed the medic, I'd just go on into the scene.
So gut feeling, hey, I'm here, I can help, I have some resources, I have some people. We're going back in the woods. Good idea, right? Lieutenant Paradise, kind of take us from there. From the waiver. We get out of the waiver. You get out of the truck, what
Yeah,
happens?
so there's this chatter about where it actually is. As we're coming down, 16.
Is it radio chatter or is it guys on?
It's radio chatter. He was asking about the gas station, but as we're coming down Columbia Pike, he's right behind me, and then we see the kid is out at the street, or the young man waving, so we pull in there, and so we pull up in the parking lot. I hop out, and he's like a little bit frantic, like, let's go, hurry up.
What's he say to you?
I don't recall, actually. Okay. Yeah. He's just something to the effect of, he's down here.
He said he's down here and he's in big trouble.
So what'd you equipment? What'd you choose to bring with you, equipment-wise?
So
the truck. We'll get to the wagon in a second.
Myself personally, I had those guys, the driver and the tillerman, grab our water rescue equipment, right? And so they're doing that, and as I hop out and I follow the kid down, I didn't take anything with me myself. Those guys were grabbing the stuff off the truck, and then they were coming up right behind me. But the kid takes off, basically running.
So based on his actions, we got an emergency going.
Yeah. Which was the feeling that I got going there anyway, based on reading the comments and
based
stuff.
On the CAD comment.
Yeah, so he's running at a pretty good clip down the trail, and it's rocky, up and down, kind of rough.
And we have some pictures, so you guys can just kind of scroll through the pictures of what he's talking about as we continue to talk. So go on. How far is he running? Would you guess?
About a tenth of a mile.
Yeah, we estimated maybe about a tenth of a mile.
Okay.
We didn't go back and measure it exactly, but it wasn't too far, but it was a couple minutes to kind of snake back there, and so we get part way back, and it starts to get pretty rocky. There's some big kind of cascading boulders. He pauses at one spot to look to see if this is where he's trying to
visualize.
Recall, or is it down there? No, let's keep going. So we go up, over some more rocks, and then it's right down here. So, and they're down. It's like we have to climb down 2 or 3 pretty big.
This is kind of, we're picturing, to paint the picture, you're talking about like the Potomac River type of rocks.
There's big
up and over boulders and through the woods.
Bigger than cars.
Really?
Yeah.
And the equipment that you guys have brought is the water rescue stuff.
Yeah.
Where's the wagon fall in?
We were right behind the truck company. I saw them grabbing the gear, ropes, PFDs. So
they grabbed ropes outside in addition to the throw bags?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We
and why is that?
PFD. It's what they're trained for. I mean, you're talking about possibly thinking about, what could we possibly need?
So we bring some of the rope cache from,
or
rope equipment from the truck.
Yep.
Okay.
We grab our PFDs and we grab the ALS gear.
Okay.
And we're kind of a little bit further behind the truck because, again, like Lieutenant Paradise said, he's like, man, we got to go. And so they basically followed this gentleman who was moving at a pretty good clip. So everything's happening really fast.
Okay.
But that being said, everybody was on the same page, grabbing the gear that we needed. Because we didn't know how far.
Did you guide any of that, or
No, they automatically did it.
Okay.
So because you don't know how far in you're going.
Certainly.
So, is it a pain to grab everything? It is, but initially grab everything, and then go because again, don't know how far back he is, and how much trouble he's in.
But this really wasn't talk coming down the road, reading NBC comments. It was on the scene. We see this guy's reactions. We're going to set up for ALS, potentially some sort of system.
Yeah.
PFDs.
Exactly.
Good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So we get to where we're going, and what do you see?
So the guy that's taking me back, we get down the trail, and then he's pointing, they're down there. I can kind of see their heads a little bit. So I start making my way down.
They being students or the patients.
The victim, and then there was another camp counselor that was with him trying to support him in the water. So I'm making my way down, kind of, down the boulders so I can get close enough to make contact and, communicate
And
with
that's
them.
what. So this picture that we're looking at is where this kid is stuck. He's stuck in that little ravine there.
Yeah. So, yes.
Right
So
there.
he's stuck right there. It's a narrow spot. Obviously, just above there, there's a large calm pool and then a couple of small waterfalls that you can kind of see there come down to that area. And then, so where I came down would be just to the right, on the right side of that photo, on that lighter colored boulder there, I believe, is where I was at. And
Yeah.
so
Do you have time to don a PFD?
I didn't have it yet at that point because those guys, like I said, I took off with the other counselor while those guys were getting the stuff out of the truck, just so I could hopefully make contact and see what was going on. So I got down as close as I could to, so I was able to make contact and talk to them, the ones in the water.
What was your initial impression when you got to that point?
Well, once I got down to that lower boulder, basically as far as I could go, I could tell that the younger child, the 10-year-old that was stuck, was not looking good. Let's say he just looked completely wasted, like he had no energy left. He's just kind of.
And he's been being supported from the rear by another
Yeah,
counselor.
so the camp counselor is actually in front of him. The child that's stuck is facing downstream. He's in the water, probably like mid-torso or so. It's a little bit noisy. The camp counselor is facing him, helping hold him up. Because he's obviously he's got no energy. He's completely wiped out.
Both of them?
So I talked to the counselor. Are you okay? Are you stuck? No, I'm just holding him. But he did express to me that listen, I'm tired. Like I'm like almost going numb. Like I've been holding him for some period of time, and he's like I'm about done myself.
Okay. So you see this. What's your immediate action?
Well, I just told him to hang on, keep holding on if you can for a second. And I started to try to make a transmission, as far as what we had there. It was one of those things that's like, how do I describe this, that's not, long and drawn out. And so I start to say something. I start to make a transmission. And then I pause. I get interrupted as I see something in my periphery as somebody's sliding down the rocks to my right. So I kind of had to pause my transmission at that point, and some stuff kind of transpired then with this guy sliding down the rocks, and so then we had to like reevaluate, make sure everybody was okay.
Hey, look, it is what it is. So
Yeah.
we had a fireman fall into the water, right?
Yeah.
Inadvertently. Yeah.
Inadvertently fall into
Yeah.
the water trying to help.
Yeah.
So so now we potentially have two
Yeah.
victims.
Right.
Potentially.
Potentially.
But it
All
never
right.
happened.
But it doesn't happen. So
No.
kind of walk.
It actually worked out.
All right.
So so our firefighter, and like I said, I was trying to communicate with the two in the water, and I just see this out of the corner of my eye, and I turn and I see him sliding down the rocks. He goes over a couple little waterfalls, and he's in the water there.
Holy shit, we got a fireman
right
in the
behind
water.
him, right behind the victim that's stuck. And he gets his footing under him, and I look at, are you okay? And he looks a little shaken, but he's like, yeah, I'm good. And if you look at the photo with the X, just above the X to the right, there's like two rocks that are touching. and he was able to, once he got his footing under him, position himself in that between those two rocks, out of the main flow of water. And like I said, I asked him, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm okay." So we were just we paused for a second there to make sure everybody was, had good footing under them and was okay at that point.
Okay. But you didn't, outside of there being another person in the water, did your game plan change at all, or had you developed a game plan at that point, or were we still assessing?
Yeah, I don't think that, like, this happened, this was like quick, like within a matter of a few seconds that, I got down there, and then I talked to the camp counselor that was assisting the victim briefly, and the firefighter went down in the water also. So this all happened really quickly. I don't think I hadn't really developed a game plan at this point. I'm still trying to process stuff and figure out what's going on. I had asked the counselor, just prior to the firefighter falling, I had asked him, what's going on with the victim? Can you tell me anything? What is he stuck on? He's like, I don't know. His legs are stuck under a branch or between the branch and the rocks, he thinks. But we can't see any of that because the water level is
higher than in the picture.
Yeah, it's higher than in the picture. The log that's kind of sticking up in the center was not visible at that time. The water was above that. So we couldn't really tell what he was stuck on. We just knew he was in the water, up above his waist, mid torso, and he's got there's a little waterfall above him that's pushing water onto him. So yeah, we just kind of paused at that point, make sure that the firefighter was okay. He got, he was getting his footing under him.
So the firefighter was from where? From engine
7 Company 12.
Company
Okay.
He's from Medic 712.
He was on Medic 712.
Yeah.
Okay, so they got there pretty fast as well.
They got there about the same time we did, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Were you on the scene yet?
A little slower.
Were you on the scene yet?
Yeah, I was actually just a few seconds behind the truck.
Okay. So everybody's really there.
Yeah.
What next? What happens next? Either one. I don't care.
Well, so the firefighter was in the water. Actually, turned out that, if you know him, he's a strong guy. I mean, like a really strong guy. So he was actually able to get his footing. And what he did was actually redirect the water. And when he redirected the water, it gave the kid an opportunity to kind of at least catch his breath a little bit. But you could still see he was just wiped.
So he redirected enough water to...
Yeah. And then he was actually able to try and feel, where exactly is he stuck. And while he was doing that, Lieutenant Paradise and another firefighter were actually able to grab him. And at that point, working with the firefighter in the water and those two on the rock, were actually able to grab him and yank him out.
Did we get PFDs on?
Initially, no, but we did once. What happened when the firefighter went in, when that transpired, everybody got on PFDs at that point. A majority of us were behind the rocks because, so with that walking path, when you walk and where the rocks are, you can't see that little rapid. You literally are going down the rock to try and look over to see where he was.
And the firefighter is that what caused him?
It was.
to slip, right?
So it's the rocks and they're wet. So when you are, and they're trying to scoot down, and he was doing the same thing, and he just inadvertently lost his footing and down he went. But yeah, it wasn't at the level of the walking path. You actually had to go down these rocks a little bit and then look over, and that's when you could see him.
So I'm going to pause real fast. I know that I've asked one of our water guys to jump into the chat, and I would like, it's Captain Stream, I would like, who's been on the show before dealing with water stuff, kind of chime in as far as some best practices, if you would, with what we should be doing as officers or firefighters, surely all of us, in a situation like that. And Chief Davis, as they come up, if you want to, I know there's a little bit of a delay, but if you want to chime in as Captain Stream comes up, please do so.
Will do. I will. Yep.
Okay, we get PFDs on everybody. We're able to, the firefighter that's diverting or blocking all of the water is able to assist the victim out, right? What next? What happens next?
Basically get him out of the water, the child out of the water. I take him, bring him up onto the rocks into a safer area. And then he was just basically evaluated by the ALS and EMS 704.
What about the counselor?
So the counselor, PFD on him, and once the other firefighter was in the water and had a hold of him, we told the counselor, because just beyond the rapid was calmer water. So we told him, are you stuck? Are you okay? He said, yeah. We said, okay, you can let him go, and we're going to have somebody watch you go down that little rapid.
Was the counselor apprehensive about letting this kid go?
I don't think so.
No.
I think that firefighter that was in the water, he pulled him, pulled the kid back. He kind of almost once he like.
Who was it?
Paulie from
Okay.
12.
Firefighter Paulie.
Okay, so big, strong guy.
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he
So
was.
we lucked out.
He was.
We did.
He was the perfect guy to.
He was the
slide
perfect
in.
guy to just slide in there. Yeah.
Yeah, he got like Lieutenant Doyle was saying, he got in there, braced his. Once he found his footing, he was able. And Doyle had hollered at him, "Hey, see if you can block the water." And then once he got his footing, he turned and he pulled the kid back a little
So
bit.
it's really water pressure that was holding this kid's
Oh, yeah.
foot underwater.
Yeah. And he lifted him up just enough that, from my vantage, where I was, he was below. They were below me. For me to like stretch out as far as I could, and Paulie picking him up as much as he could, get him, back up out of the water. I just was able to grab his wrist, and
Pull him up.
Firefighter Gray
Gray,
was right next
Ryan
to me.
Gray.
Grabbed the same arm. Initially, it was like, well, we're pulling pretty hard on his arm. He's not coming. And Firefighter Paulie, he pulled on him a little bit more, wiggled him, whatever, and he slid up out of there. And but it was, I think once he had a hold of him, the camp counselor kind of, went down into the flat water below.
So pull him up, assess him, transport him, whatever we do. Any issues getting the patient back down the trail? I mean, did we bring a Stokes basket?
Yeah, Stokes basket was brought up.
So we were close
the
enough
incident.
that the driver or tillerman or whomever
Yeah.
could shuffle equipment.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure who had gotten a Stokes basket, but I do know the truck company, those guys, the tillerman and the driver, were setting up a system with utilizing some of the trees that were behind us, just in case we couldn't get him out.
A system for the victim or a system to move over rocks or system?
At that point, when they were setting up the system, he was still in the water.
Okay.
So it was basically, let's try and set up a system here that we can use if we have to, and utilize that to get him out of that water if we
Okay.
have to.
Captain Stream? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we have Captain Streams hopped in on a few things. People on the chat would see this. So he has a couple comments. First was, so he noted, hey, do just as the crews did in terms of taking stuff. It's important to bring all the gear and PPE that you think you may need. Better to have it than not need it. And, of course, folks on the river, right, when you see them go to call, they bring a whole bunch of stuff. And I would expect, is me now, I would expect it is easy not to do that because we don't do that all the time, right? So clearly hearing, one, that you brought a ladder truck with you, somebody hopped on that, and that brings especially the tiller truck, brings a whole bunch of stuff, right? And then the ability to get that back in there from the chief officer perspective, right? That's the call we would expect folks to make, right? Is bring that stuff with you. And then he hopped on later and noted that PFDs and helmets should be worn within 10 feet of the water. And we know that's always the plan that we speak about. And of course, the firefighter who fell in, right, that shows a good reason why. Fortunately, it was okay. Not only, Kurt, certainly the PFD is not only to just stay above water, but the helmet's important, right, to not knock yourself out and be unconscious, right? So things didn't work out that way. They worked out to the better of everything. But
Yeah.
right, and we always talk about not wearing your fire helmet either, right, around water, and so that's important. But, remember, no fire gear near water. He just hopped in there. And I do think we're pretty good about that. You can get caught up in that, especially I think about like if you're coming back from another run. Let's think you're coming back from an adaptive and you got part of your fire gear on and you were to come across this, it could be easy to...
Yeah, we don't carry our shoes generally.
No,
in the fire truck.
yeah, we learned that from Twin Brook, right? And so...
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which later I'll have a question about that, but or now, whatever you want to do.
So you can do it now.
Yeah, so two thoughts. So I'm looking at a mixture of experience here. You guys did practical rescue when we did practical rescue, yes. And did you do the flume part? Did that help you out in this type of training, or did you ever think about, hey, I just, was that related to this or not? Like, I didn't think about it. And then the second part of that was having what those folks did at Twin Brook. Any thoughts of that in this, or are they like, hey, just two totally separate?
Anybody who wants to answer.
Yeah, anybody, right? I mean, at Twin Brook, we had a medic unit, right? Dude hopped right into the water, saved some people's lives. No PFDs on the medic unit, right? So, I mean, took action.
I mean, this is
made a
relatable to Twin Brook just because of how quickly it happens, and when you see somebody that's, in desperate need like that child was, your first thought is, I got to get him out, and so you're quick to react, which is not a bad thing. Everybody that was on this call, everybody was on the same page. But again, it happened so quickly that some things, when you go back and you think about PFDs, yeah. But again, you're talking an incident that probably happened with, less than 5 minutes maybe?
Yeah, I would say
It just happened really, really quickly. But there again, everybody's on the same page. So while you have crews that were working to get him out physically, you had other crews that were working on setting up a system. You had other crews that had the ALS gear that were further up waiting for us to get him out. As a company officer, didn't really have to say much at all. Everybody was doing their job. It was just a matter of how we're going to get him out.
Yeah.
And it just so fortunate happened that, the way everything happened to our advantage, and we were able to quickly get him out, which is exactly what he needed, because there was no waiting around. Again, like Lieutenant Paradise was saying, Captain Wilson, he was done for. You could tell. We've been doing this long enough. He was done for.
Yeah.
And it had been for that counselor, it was not good for that.
We would have been fucking this kid.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind. So, to begin with him, with what he was doing, But as far as the flume goes, Chief, no. No, didn't come to my mind, really.
So we get the kid out, right? Get him to a transport unit.
Mm-hmm.
Is that when we started to think about, or at what point did we start to think about other people? Like, we have a group here, right? With one kid that was cooling off in the river.
Yeah.
What about other kids that were cooling off in the river?
Well, what happened was actually he was the original child was in the medic unit being evaluated, and another firefighter came up and said, "Hey, Lieutenant, there was somebody else with him." Excuse me.
What do you say at that point?
Yeah, excuse me.
Oh,
he
geez.
said, there was another child with him, and that's what they're saying. So your initial thought is, man, I hope we don't have another child somewhere along the way. So I was going to go tell the incident commander, but when I walked up, somebody had already was talking to him about, hey, we might have somebody else that's missing. I believe it was Captain Wilson was saying, hey, we might have somebody else missing here. So I went to find the lead counselor, and I asked him, was there another child with him in the water? And he said, yeah, he was in front of him, but he got out, he's okay. I said, well, I need to see him. I need to put eyes on him to make sure that, he's okay.
So accountability, well, I kind of second thought initially now becomes,
Yeah.
oh my God, we forgot about all the rest of the group, all the other 12 kids or however many kids.
Yeah. Well, the counselors had done a really good job of making sure that most of the kids were accountable. However, there was probably the communication maybe could have been a little better between us and a counselor. But given what was going on at the time, nothing was really said about that until afterwards. But he said no, he's okay. He's up at the Trader Joe's, and that's when I said, well, I need to see him, so we need to walk up there to make sure that that he is the child.
Okay.
So him and I walked up there, and lo and behold, he's coming down towards us, and he's soaking wet. And I asked him if he was in the water with the child, and he said, "Yeah, I was in front of him. I made it out okay." I said, "All right, well, come down with me because I want to, Chief Lancaster. I wanted to."
Was Chief Lancaster Battalion 1 that day?
Yeah,
Or
Yes.
yeah, which actually worked out too because he's obviously a water guy.
Special Ops?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
definitely.
and Assistant Chief Coleman was there too, which really helps. So.
Did the team ever get there? The
Event-
river team ever arrived
Eventually,
on
oh
scene?
yeah.
Yeah, they got there as they were bringing the kid up and out. They arrived shortly thereafter. I had walked down to find out if they needed any more equipment, if they needed help getting people out. There was a question: have we counted for everybody yet?
Yeah.
And that happened
From
shortly.
Chief Lancaster.
I think I would talk to Lieutenant Doyle as he was coming out. Is everybody out? And he said, yes, everybody, as far as I know, has walked up. And then the conversation about the possibly one more missing happened. So,
Okay. So I'm going to ask the panel this question, but I want Captain Stream to chime in first. What are we missing here? What should we, as Captain Miller, the engine officer on Paramedic Engine 702, what advice can you give me to maybe do different or to think about differently than what these guys did? First question to the panel really is, have you ever run a call like this before? So this is a first.
Yeah.
And this is definitely a first for you you've been in the battalion 14 or 15 years, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it was, I don't want to say you're going into a foreign place, but I mean, it's a place that you didn't even know existed.
Yeah, I mean, if you had said, I think any of us, if you
And
had
you were
said,
12 for half of those 15 years, and you've been here the other half.
Yeah, and somebody had said to me, hey, given what we were dealing with, where in 12 and 16's area, where would you find that? You may find it maybe down near Piney Branch, but again, that's all weather dependent.
Yeah.
I mean, when you've got rain for a few days, you know how it is.
Yeah. We know Sligo Creek is.
We know Sligo Creek's going to
fast
flood.
and
It's
fast.
going to flood. So yes, but however, given a day like today and the way it was, and somebody said, Northwest Branch. No.
Is it, and the same for both of you?
yeah. Again, for the most part, when you see it, unless you're back in those woods a lot, it looks like a meandering little
Yeah.
stream. It doesn't look like anything significant.
I'll be honest, I was shocked.
Yeah, you get down there and seeing this guy trapped. I didn't actually see him trapped in the rocks, but I could absolutely see how it happened.
Yeah.
So, Captain Wilson, asking you, probably, what have you changed anything? Your approach to talking to the guys, talking at the lineup table, a drill, area familiars. Have you changed anything since this? I mean, this is a big event, right?
Yeah.
This is a holy smokes. I didn't even know this kind of place existed in 12's area. Have you changed anything?
I'd like to say yes. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten to it yet. But I do want to go down there and take everybody down to that area.
And what you want to hike that trail?
I don't want to hike all the way down through the trail, but I'd like
It's a
to.
long ways.
It is, but I'd
It's
like
10.5 miles.
I'd like guys
It's a long
to,
way.
if we get dispatched down there, guys to understand what we're getting into, as opposed to, you think most of the places around here, you hear a trail, you think, it's paved and we can walk for miles and the UTV will
It's like
fit,
the UTV.
but it's not. It's a very rocky terrain, very much up and down, more so than you would expect, and there's some hazards down there that I had no idea I had in this area, being as urban as it is.
I mean, is this something as simple? Do you take your shoes on your run? You know, like
Yeah,
you can't wear your Crocs on going there, right?
Nope. And it's one of those things you don't think about. Usually, you jump on the rig, you're in your turnouts, but it may not be a bad idea.
I'm going to ask you next. Being assigned here, knowing that that's right down the street, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody did a good job as far as what to bring. You just never know. Again, like I said, if you had told me where, that would be probably been the last place that I would have said, yeah, right over there.
I mean, it's a proficiency on setting up a Z system, or
it's more that it's just.
Let's make sure you know how to put the PFD on. Like,
yeah, well,
Christ, I can't remember the last time I put a PFD. Sorry,
yeah,
PFD on.
And that's where something where a lot, like, again, with what was going on, the counselor himself basically running down there. Look, everybody's pretty excited about it. And as we were walking through, I was a little. About the walking path, and I'm trying to think in my head, where could he possibly be stuck? Where could he possibly be stuck? And coming around the corner, again, you see the big boulders, and just down in there is where he was. I would never have guessed. So area familiarization, absolutely. If you have areas like that, walk them.
Have you gone down? Have you gone back?
Yeah, we have. I'd like actually to take maybe have 10 and 30 come out and do a drill with them. At least to say, hey, think about this, think about that.
Yeah.
Maybe do this, think about this. Captain Stream, when those guys showed up, and Captain Bell, they really did a good job as far as like, hey, you guys did a great job, but think about X, Y, and Z next time.
Okay.
And it's like, yeah, absolutely. But however, again, with how fast it just went, it happens quickly.
Lieutenant Paradise, you're a float guy in the battalion.
Mm-hmm.
Have you added anything to your bag of tricks about this call, other than telling the story?
Well, kind of just to tag on what Lieutenant Doyle was saying, I think working towards trying to get out and get familiar with stuff, getting out on foot, slowing down to actually look at stuff, because it's amazing how much stuff you see when you walk around, look at things, look at odd nooks and crannies, places behind this building, whatever. Because we go up and down the street all day long, but it's just like, I never noticed, I never knew that was there. I worked at 15 for a while. I've been up and down hundreds of times. I didn't even know there was a trail back there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
we're going to try to touch on that real
just
brief.
slowing down, if taking the time to go out and actually look at stuff on foot is probably a huge benefit. It's something I'm going to try to do more.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's Captain Stream say?
So Captain Stream, first like to thank him taking time breaking from host testing to be able to hop in here on this. So he says a couple of things. Says the folks from 12 and 16 did just about everything right, other than those PFDs. Would have liked to head on a little earlier. Your thought process from the time the call popped up in CAD, right? Getting started on that. We've talked about that many times. Looking at the CAD comments, right? The guys going out to look at the call before it's even dispatched. He also noted that good job of accounting for and getting eyes on any additional victims. And also notes that it is important to interview bystanders often, it's important to interview bystanders often. We do not realize there are more than one victim until late into the call. So, right, how you all work together on that, clearly was good. One more from Captain. Even at the Swiftwater Tech level, a strainer, which is what that young person was in, is difficult to replicate and often a recovery due to how quickly a patient can drown and the time it takes to get rescue personnel on scene, right? So the situation that child was in was dire, no doubt, right? So,
Did we at any point think about using our Zello phone or using the channel to talk to the team that was responding in to give them information or to get any advice from them? Or was it just straight up too fast?
It's too fast.
Okay.
I know Chief Lancaster. I did hear him say about the what 3 words.
Yeah, so I was
So we try to
I
utilize
printed
that.
something out, and I want to kind of talk about that
Mm-hmm.
a little bit. One of our early Boss Talk episodes, Captain Randall, really, I don't know if it was introduced us to the What 3 Words app. And I was looking through the CAD comments while I was at work last shift, and I saw W3W, and then it gives the 3 words, and it's in the MDC comments. Were these asked for, or were these populated by community? Do we know?
As far as I know, I think
You all did not ask for them, correct?
No, I believe Chief Lancaster asked for them.
Chief Lancaster asked for them?
Yeah.
So they were put into the MDC comments, and I, just being kind of weird, downloaded the app and actually threw these words
Yeah.
into the app, and it took me right to the spot.
Right.
I mean, on my on a Google map. So I thought, and again, time is always of the essence, right? And you're not carrying around your MDC, but I thought it would be extremely helpful in a situation like that, especially, or maybe even on the, the Billy Goat Trail or something like that. And I don't know if anybody from ECC is in the chat today. If not, I can reach out. I will reach out and see how this information is available to us, and if it's reliable and things like that. But I can tell you that in the MDC comments, it took me right to the trail. Yeah. So that was valuable information. I don't know how they got it. I don't know if they got it from the guy that called 911 from the side of the river. Or...
It's apparently pretty popular. No, I in all honesty, I had no idea that it was even available.
Do you have it in your phone now?
I do, because the guys here at 16 on a C shift, they were explaining it to me. Several firefighters know all about it. And so I'm older. I had no idea.
So it's something you could call ECC, and so you can say, hey, are we still in contact with the calling party?
Yeah.
Do they have what 3 words?
Yeah, and give me if it's available, give me the what 3 words, and they'll give you the 3 words, and it will. In fact, after the call was finished, I believe they tested it.
Who tested it? You
I believe Chief Lancaster and the Swiftwater teams, and brought somebody back there.
Maybe
and sure enough, when they did that, it literally put them within, 2 to 5 feet of where where the child was.
So something to think about.
It's just another tool in the toolbox. Something to, if you're trying to figure out where they're at, whether it's something that we had, or if it's somebody that's back in the trail, it's just something maybe that ECC can help you out with. It's another tool for the toolbox.
I know that they're not auto-populating it though. It's something that I could ask for.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I don't believe they're
not. I don't think ECC is going to directly give it to you, but I think if you ask,
it could be a tool.
Could be a tool.
You have that app on your phone? Either of you?
I don't. No.
Wow.
And it's not on the Sonum phone, right?
No, it's not.
No, it is not. It's on a personal phone.
I got you.
Yeah.
So you would have to have your personal phone with you.
Got to make sure you have your personal phone with you as well.
Got it.
So, guys, thank you very much for sharing your story. We appreciate it. Anybody that is out there that might have additional. I know there's a big fire going on in Rockville right now, so our live viewers might be down a little bit. But if people certainly are watching the show and have questions, they can either email myself, email any 3 of these guys. If you guys get questions and you feel as though we should share them, forward them to myself or Chief Davis, and we will make sure that message gets out on our next episode, which really leads me to say that is going to be October 12th. It's From the Command Post episode. It will be from the Training Academy, and it will deal with really the same topic. We had a big rainstorm come through and some water rescues on New Hampshire Avenue. But instead of the company perspective, it will be from a command officer perspective. So until then, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you on the 12th.